Let's create a new solution in which to explore the Fusion editor for behaviors. We will create a simple text node and control its content and color via behaviors, depending on a value set by a slider. Let's add a slider control by dragging it from the toolbox and dropping it in the scene tree. We can slightly adjust its position. Let's also add a text value behavior so we can see the exact value. Drag and drop the text value control from the toolbox to the scene tree. We can adjust its position and set its format text string. Let's view it as float with 2 decimal places. We can set the value from the slider to this control by using a forward value behavior. Drag a forward value behavior from the toolbox and drop it over the slider node in the scene tree. In the Properties panel of the forward value behavior, we can set the text value as the target node. It is found under Solution, Scenes, Scene 2D Text Value. We can confirm this is correctly set up by setting a value in the slider control. The modified value will be seen in the text. Now let's add the text node on which to test a behavior configuration. Drag a text node from the Node's 2D section of the toolbox to the scene tree and position it. To dynamically provide the text, we can add a Provide Text behavior to the text node. Drag the Provide Text behavior from the toolbox to the text node. To confirm this works, let's change the text to Behavior Text in the text property of the Provide Text behavior. Text has indeed changed. Next, we will add a value behavior, and based on the value, we will modify the node's properties using behaviors. This value behavior can receive values forwarded by other controls like the slider. And the values can trigger actions controlled by logical conditions. Drag the value behavior from the toolbox to the text node. The slider can also forward its value to the text node. Drag the forward value behavior from the toolbox to the slider in the scene tree. In the Properties panel of the behavior, we browse to the text node in Solution, Scenes, Scene 2D. We can rename the behavior to Forward Value Text to differentiate from the other forward value behavior. We can add some logical conditions that handle the node properties based on the value. The best way to visualize this is the Fusion editor. We can see here the node and its associated behaviors. After pressing the receiver's connector of the value behavior, we can drag out a link, then select the desired behavior. In this case, we want an action on value behavior. From the condition connector, we can drag and create a condition block. For a comparison, we need a check processed value block. By default, condition block are colored red. The operator is greater than, and we enter operand value 66 for the high value. Now to add actions to be taken when this condition is fulfilled. We can click and drag from the Actions connector of the block. To change color, we look for the Set Color action. The behavior's properties are visible in the Fusion node editor, so we can edit the color property directly from here. Choose red and click OK. By default, the action nodes are colored orange. To check the current functionality, we can go to the Scene editor. We can try to see what happens when we set a high value. Select the slider control and set its value to 80. Notice how the text color has changed since our condition was met. We can set multiple actions to be taken for the same condition. For example, we can change the text content. Drag out a link from the Actions connector to create a new action node. We need the Set Text action. We can edit its properties here. In the text property, we can type "too high" and this text will be set. We can go back to the editor to check this step also. Select the scroll bar and set value to 90. And now we get both the color change and the text change. We can take a similar approach for low value. Instead of recreating the same structure, we can also copy and modify the existing one. Multiple nodes can be selected by clicking and dragging a rectangle. Copy-paste the selection. The pasted action on value node will be linked to the root node. We can fix this by dragging a link from the value nodes connector and dragging it to our nodes connector. Since only one link can go in, the previous one is gone. Condition operator can be set to lower than. Value to 33. Select a new color, maybe blue for low value. And text to change to too low. It's a good idea to check after each step. We can go to the editor and change slider value. Let's try something small like 10. The color and text changes as expected, even if it's a bit hard to read. And the high value condition still works too. When neither condition triggers, the state remains unchanged. Before adding more nodes, let's make sure we keep track of existing logic. Let's add low and high to the names of the nodes depending on the state they handle. Actually, this is the high value handling. And here for the low value handling. We can adjust the positions to align them. Some guidelines show the width of the other node. We can start by duplicating these nodes again. Then fix the link as before. Let's rename them to avoid confusion. In the color action, we can select the new color, maybe green. And we set the text for these values in range. Instead of a single comparison, we can check two conditions. We can use a logical operator to check if multiple conditions are true. First, let's remove the comparison condition. Drag out a link from the condition connector. We're looking for check logical condition. Just aligning it a bit. The operator is logical and now we have to add the operands. Each of them can be a comparison. So we're looking for check processed value. We can set the condition to greater or equal and value to 33. We add the second operand. Also a check process value. We can set lower or equal operator here. And value 66. On zoom out, we can see the behaviors and connections in Fusion are more clear and easy to understand than the behaviors window. We can try some values for the slider. In case the diagram gets too complicated, we can also collapse the nodes. Controls from the toolbox, like the slider, might also be better understood by checking their Fusion diagram. We can try this solution in the CGI player for live control of the slider value. Thank you for watching this CGI Studio tutorial on the Fusion Editor Basics.